Tonight to the National Furniture Workers Association of America. We all know those people that always try to help too much when you're trying to do something or do nothing to help when you need it. I run into these kind of people all the time while I'm at work, and I have to learn how to deal with them. Sometimes it takes a lot of patience or even just a lot of hand sanitizer. I'm going to tell you about the different kind of... Okay, that part. Alright, first kind of people I run into. Too helpful. Old ladies, they are the worst. When you are trying to deliver like a fridge or something, they're terrible. Old ladies always trying to get everything out of the way and help when she's not supposed to. Like for instance, we were carrying this big deep freezer down the stairs, and we had this little cart that we had to carry it and it slides down the stairs. And my boss had to go inside and get something, and she's like, "Oh well, me and you could just do it." I'm like, "You're like 85 years old. You're not gonna be able to lift this sucker." And she wanted to, but I told her no. And then one time my shoe was untied, and I was carrying this big French door. It's like the big refrigerators, and you gotta take the doors off and stuff. And I was carrying it, it's heavy, and my shoe came untied. And she's like, "Oh, you gotta stop and do that." And I'm like, we're in the middle of the stairs, and she's like, "You gotta stop and tie that." I'm like, "No, we gotta get this sucker down there." Another thing with old ladies, food. They always have food, and they always insist on giving you food or you eating. And every time I go over to someone's old lady's house, "You want food?" Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes they just get in the way. And then you get those old guys that just like to stare, just like to sit there and stare. And, like all the time this happens, I'll be carrying in a fridge, and then the door will be closed, and I gotta set it down to get the door, and they're standing right by the door, but they couldn't open the door to help me. And another thing with old people, they never know where anything is, like electrical and like plumbing and stuff, so you gotta go down and you gotta look all around. They got no idea what's going on, and yeah, it's terrible. Old people just get in the way too often. I don't know. In conclusion, we have to learn how to deal with these kind of people. Like one time we were over at on a service call to this lady's house, and nobody was home, and the guy I work with was laying in the fridge or in the freezer trying to get this thing unthawed, and he's like, "Can you get me a towel?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I go into the living room. There's this towel sitting on the ground, and I grab it and I give it to him, and this lady comes over, and she's like, "Oh, I see you got a towel. Well, my dog was in the hospital and he had an accident, and that's the towel I use to clean it up." And I was like, he looks at me and he's like, "Well, thank you, Michael." And you just gotta learn how to deal with these. Of course, like you take towel away, give them a new towel, but you just gotta learn how to, in situations when they're getting in the way and not doing anything, you gotta learn how to do it yourself and stuff. And I run into these type of people all the time, good, bad, mean, or just rude.